Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Galake here, and I'm finally back with a YouTube series that I started a long time ago. Good God, it had to have been several years by now since I've last uploaded a game chat. I think before I stopped doing these, I was calling them game and chats because I would try and talk about a topic while I was playing a game, and yeah, we're not going back to doing that. I could save that for the stream. Anyway, this week I'm bringing the game chats back officially. There's going to be at least one every single week. I'm going to aim for having these out on Fridays is probably when I'm going to be dishing these out. So yeah, probably like one a week, honestly, on Fridays. But yeah, another series to add into the fold. Today, I want to touch on some Pokemon trading card game related stuff because there has been a lot going on in that community. If you ever watch my Twitch streams, you know I'm a pretty big TCG stan now. Surprisingly, I never really thought I would get so heavily into a card game. I can't even say heavily, but just like the amount that I'm into Pokemon TCG, like at this point, the amount of money I've spent on this game in general, both digitally and physically, is just something that I never really foresaw in the past. So anyway, I'm going to be talking about some of that stuff today. So I guess let's jump right into it. So I'll start with the TCG World Championship Series related stuff first, since honestly there is a lot to unpack here. It has been a crazy week. Honestly, February in general has just been such a roller coaster ride for, competitive Pokemon trading card game players in general. It's actually insane. Like, I'd never really thought February is usually like a really boring month for anything. I guess except for the Super Bowl. Like, honestly, except for football, February is generally really freaking crazy, or really lackluster. Not very crazy at all, but it's actually been hella crazy from the amount of doubt that I was seeing regarding, TPCI moving forward with events this year, to the whisperings of registration opening up. That was starting to happen like the beginning of the month, and now finally the official announcement regarding the return of Play Pokemon events in 2022. It's crazy. It's just been a lot to unpack, a lot to talk about. And I didn't even mention the Pokemon trading card game live stuff, the new client that's coming out. I didn't even almost forgot to mention that. But for those of you who may not know, essentially most of the planned 2022 Play Pokemon events will be taking place as originally announced back in, I think it was like October of last year. With the initial scheduled regionals will be happening in Utah, Indiana, New Jersey, British Columbia, Canada, and Wisconsin, and I think Ohio here in the U.S. Those are for the U.S. And then, yeah, we have Ohio in the U.S. obviously as well, which they're going ahead with nationals. This was news to me. I actually just found out about this today. I didn't know that nationals got a date. Like, I didn't know it was happening. And yes, nationals is happening in Ohio in July, I believe. And then on the European side, we've got UK is getting their regional, Spain is getting their regional, Italy is getting their regional. So yeah, honestly, it's a pretty safe bet at this point, that we're finally making our way back into, somewhat of a form of normality, for those who wish to compete again. Obviously, we aren't where we ideally would like to be, as far as the pandemic is concerned. And with this, they are doubling down on the mandates. That is all I have to say. They are taking extra precautions for these events, so they're requiring masks. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. Pretty much, if you're holding an event, you should be requiring masks, hands down. A full COVID vaccination, so I guess 2 doses, unless whichever brand or whatever you went with. I think there's like one right now that requires just 1 dose. I think, I'm not really sure, but you need to have your full vaccination plus your booster shots, which this one, like, I feel like a lot of people were like, I mean, I feel like most people by now are probably already getting their boosters. I really personally didn't want to have to get one unless I was going to travel. So, you know, it's not a huge deal for me personally, but also they are requiring 2 negative COVID tests that were taken no earlier than 72 hours before the event that is taking place, if I remember correctly. No earlier, no later. Yeah, no earlier than 72 hours before the event. So yeah, I mean, it does sound like this could all be a bit of a hassle, especially when you take into account the more lenient precautions that many other, I want to say even larger scale events are requiring. Like, what do we have that was pretty large scale recently? I mean, I know we had PAX Unplugged in November of last year. I know New York Comic-Con went ahead. I think a couple Comic-Cons went ahead, didn't they? And I know, like, we had like 2 cons are going on that are pretty large scale. I think Katsucon is one of them, and I think Anime Milwaukee was this past weekend. And in my opinion, I don't even think, or as far as I know, I don't even think either of those events had a cap on them. So I mean, I don't really know how large scale those 2 events are compared to regionals or like a regionals here, but you know, I could only assume that like these events are pretty large scale, and they haven't even doubled down nearly as much as TPCI is doubling down with the rules and what they're enforcing for their regionals. But you know, it's TPCI, it's Nintendo, whatever. I can definitely understand it, and honestly, I sort of expected just as much. And you know, while most of the community probably doesn't have much of a issue regarding these rules, I think more of the recent backlash lately that I've seen on social media comes at the also recent announcement regarding that ongoing suspension for the League Cups and the League Challenges. They're going to be MIA for the rest of 2022, which just completely blows. Or I guess technically I'll have to go back and actually check the post, but I believe it's till the end of the 2022 season, and that ends, you know, after Worlds, and then maybe, though I really doubt it, maybe they'll pick back up with them in the latter half of the year. I mean, I'll maybe touch on that a little bit later. So yeah, they did announce that, you know, those events won't be taking place. Kind of a hard blow to a lot of the community, and that's what I've been seeing most of the backlash about, which is understandable. I can see why this was probably one of the easiest calls for, you know, TPCI to make, as, you know, they don't really have any control or any way of monitoring COVID precautions during events outside of what they host, so like outside of their own regionals and Nats and Worlds. And you know, with many states right now around the country already dropping mask mandates in general, it probably left them with no other choice but to play things as safe as possible and you know, under their control. It's only an issue when you take into account how isolating this decision is, especially for newcomers to the game, to the competitive scene at least, or even lower tier players who either, you know, don't have the funds to travel to a different state or the experience to warrant, you know, buying a freaking plane ticket and a hotel ticket or a hotel stay, you know, and shoot for a shot at day 2 at a regionals. Or I mean, hell, even a more seasoned player of the game may be lacking championship points, but are left with no other option or no other choice but just shell out hundreds of dollars to do a regional, you know, rather than aiming at something more local like a League Cup, or going to like a couple League Cups or League Challenges, like a town or a city over or something like that. So I mean, it's a huge problem, honestly. I can see where a lot of that backlash is coming from. It's a super unfortunate situation, and you know, as someone personally who hasn't really played offline TCG since I want to say like maybe late 2019. I think, yeah, late 2019. So honestly, that's kind of like before the pandemic started to strike. But there were a decent amount of cups going on early 2020, like within the first 3 months, because I do remember going to one, and I think that was the last one that I went to before, you know, COVID hit. But you know, as somebody who, you know, hasn't really played offline at all since, you know, pre-pandemic, I've been finding it harder and harder to convince myself to just jump back into the offline game this year and start planning to attempt at heading to, you know, some of these regionals. I feel like I should, because luckily for me, I feel like I'm in a more fortunate position because I'm in the Midwest, and the Wisconsin regional, Indiana, and Ohio are relatively close to where I am. I mean, not immediately close. The Wisconsin one, yes, they're neighbor to me, but the other two, like, I would have to probably get on a plane and travel to, but it's not that far. It would be a lot cheaper than like going to, like, you know, the regionals that they had years prior in like Cali or or like, don't they have one on the East Coast? Yeah, like New Jersey. So like, you know, going to any of these other ones that they got going on this year is just, it's a much better situation. Like I feel like, honestly, I have no excuse not to go, other than feeling rusty that I haven't played offline in a very long time. So I mean, I will probably, you know, be making the trip out to at least a couple, and I have never been to a national, so I kind of want to put that on my priority list, but I guess we'll see what happens. But even though cups and challenges will be MIA until the new season, or, you know, very skeptical we'll get them back in 2020 at all, but we'll see. There is an intervention that the competitive TCG community has needed for some time now that could play a huge role in lessening this blow. Y'all already know what it is. I already mentioned it earlier. That intervention is Pokemon TCG Live. Yes, you already know. You already know. So TCG Live was also finally announced to be getting an open beta on February the 22nd, which is, you know, a mere 3 days away from the time that I'm recording this right now, at like almost 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, even though it's right now, it's only been announced for Canadians, I believe, so only for Canada right now we've got the date for. It's an open beta. It's quite likely that open betas for other regions will start popping up within a few weeks following the Canadian release. And honestly, I think that's worst case scenario, assuming they don't just drop the full game, or, you know, most likely it'll be an open beta, but like, assuming they don't just drop the open beta for everyone immediately after the supposed Pokemon Day Direct, which, I mean, I say supposed, but like, it's almost certain that it's going to be a thing next week on Pokemon Day. And now we already know that minus getting rid of trading and the legacy format for the new client, TCG Live will pretty much be a step up from the current Pokemon trading card game online client in literally every other way. We've already got confirmation that a rank ladder is going to be in the game. An option to craft any card, or I guess any card in standard at least, will be present. New customization options and cosmetics are making their way in. Like, there's a new avatar system and everything. The ability to turn access cards into currency to use towards cards that you actually need will be in place. So like Dust, if you played like Hearthstone or Magic online, like, there's ways to just basically disenchant your cards, or I guess the game gives you gems or some crap for having extras when you carry over, when you're opening packs. Oh, and before I forget, of course, this one is probably the most recent leak. It's less of a leak because it was in like the image, and that's expanded is going to be in the game, or at least a beta form of it. I don't know why. I don't know why a format needs a beta. I really don't get it. It's like, dude, this thing must really be very early in development for them to like have to have a beta for a format, something that's already like fully fleshed out in the current client that we have right now. I don't know why we need a beta, but it's going to be there for anybody who was worried about, oh, this is going to be no expanded. Like, nah, it's going to be there. We're going to have it. And that was spotted in recent images, so it's less of a leak and more of like a full like confirmation. Like, they're already showing it off. And, you know, while all these things are great, like, I'm hyped for all of this stuff coming. I personally feel the most important feature they could ever incorporate into this new client is the ability to earn championship points, even if only a small amount, through either online events. They could dish them out that way. They could do it like sort of how Hearthstone does it for their events. They have it so the top rank ladder finishers for every season gets points, whatever, doesn't matter, just as long as there is a way to get CP. I get that a lot of TCG players are diehard, like want to play on paper only type of people, and that's understandable. Like, the game is a card game, I get it. I started playing with the online client back in, okay, well, let me not lie, because I did go to a States in 2013, and that was like the first time I actually ever played competitive Pokemon, like on paper. Like, that's originally what really sparked my interest. But on my own, like after, you know, a couple years, like I got back into it again, and that was with the online client. I like to say that the online client is what really pulled me in, because that's when I started spending money. That's when I started spending money, pretty much. So I get it. I know people, I know it's a card game, like I get it. Like, some people are they just don't want things to go in the direction of online. Like, they don't want online to replace paper, and I promise you, like, that's literally never gonna freaking happen. However, literally, look, like every other major competitive card game at this point, either now or will be receiving, like at some point, or will be receiving an online simulator to provide a competitive digital experience. Off the top of my head, Magic has 2. Yu-Gi-Oh just got theirs, which has been popping off. Digimon has already been confirmed to be getting theirs, and not to throw shade at Pokemon, but yo, they want to suspend events for a full year. How many years now? 2 years? Yo, Digimon was like, look, COVID, no problem. Here, let's just have our regionals online. You guys set up your webcams. Boom, bang, boom. We're still gonna hold our stuff. Honestly, like, I get it. It's a very TPCI Nintendo thing for them not to even think about doing something like that. I get it. But at this point, there's literally no excuse, and they see all these other companies doing with their games. They're like, all right, I think they're thinking, okay, now it's time for us to jump on board. So yeah, I mean, accessibility is always the most important component to growing any competitive scene. And part of me is starting to believe that, you know, they're finally starting to understand that. I pray to God they're starting to get it. And yeah, I really hope that TPCI will finally start playing into this with the launch of TCG Live. Like client side World Championship Series events would be absolutely game changing for the competitive scene. Like, I guarantee you it will bring in more competitive players into the fold. It'll bring more competitive players into the fold than if such an option were not present. Like, there is actually nothing to lose. There's actually nothing to lose for them to incorporate something like this into this new era of online TCG. Like, literally, they have nothing to lose. You're catering to the greater whole at this point. But even if they go the stupid route, the Baka route, and they don't really do anything like that, I think at the very least we'll have a brand new, more convenient platform to hold our grassroots events online, that is, and to hopefully ensure a more smooth experience for online tournament series that are already being ran. So that even when offline events do fully make a return, we won't be isolating a now decently established outlet for newcomers, or even less privileged players who may not be able to travel, or not have the funds to travel, that wish to partake in more competitive focused TCG experiences. I just feel like people have been really, like, I've seen some really dumb takes throughout the past week regarding this whole thing. Like, oh, if you can't go to a regionals, or if you're complaining about there being no locals, you probably either wouldn't day to a regionals. It's like the amount of gatekeeping and just indirect scrub shaming is just the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, a lot of these people probably wouldn't day to, but it's like, you do realize you're isolating a very, very huge chunk of your community, by not having locals. I don't think people understand how much that really hurts the community overall. We say this in the FGC all the time, but pop monsters, which are the people who go to tournaments and go 0-2, those are the players that TOs need to cater to the most. They are the ones funding your tournaments. They are the ones who come out in droves They are the ones who will always show up. These are the players that literally make the whole thing happen. And I feel like that's just something that honestly maybe the TCG kids don't get yet. I don't know what it is, but it's a no-brainer for me. So obviously, you know, I'm hoping moving forward that, you know, there will be ways to you know, bring online players into the fold more. And I really hope that people who have already started running their own online series for the TCGO will continue to do so when live drops, even when offline is fully back, because it's like we really need you guys. And personally, I've been waiting for the live client to drop to start my own online series, which I definitely will be doing. But yeah, I've been meaning to just wait until the live client drops. I don't want to have to deal with that nightmare that is TCGO. Props to all the people who are doing that right now, because yo, that client is that is something. Thank God it is in its last days. It'll be bittersweet when it's finally gone, but good God, I couldn't imagine trying to run a tournament on that thing. It's already a nightmare playing tournaments on that thing. I'd probably be singing a completely different song if TCG Live wasn't like in the works, like it wasn't about to release. And heck, I might even be singing a different song like when it's out, and you know, like I find out how lackluster it truly is. God, please, I'm just praying at this point. I don't ask for much from TPCI Nintendo. I really don't ask for much. I don't expect much. I shouldn't. You never should. But if there is something I've been begging for throughout these past like 5 years now, 27, I don't know, my math is off probably, but since 2017 when I really started playing the online client, like if there's anything I've been asking for, more updated, a more streamlined, a more modern, convenient in any way imaginable platform to play TCG online, like I pray to God that this is it. I pray to God that they are able to deliver. So yeah, anyway, that is pretty much all I wanted to touch on for this week's game chat. I've seen a lot of buzz on social media regarding all the TCG stuff, and yeah, I guess I just felt like recapping some of it and sharing my thoughts. Just a typical Blake rant this has turned into at this point, if you will. So I mean, that's to be expected. So yeah, overall, I mean, I cannot wait for TCG Live to drop, and I'm sure I want to talk about the state of, you know, the client a hell of a lot more once it's officially out. So yeah, I guess expect a game chat solely focused on the new client at some point. Who knows? I think that'll probably be a thing. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on for today. Hopefully you guys were able to sit through and enjoy this full-on game chat, this first game chat back. I might just call this game chat, what should I call this, game chat revamped? I don't know, game chat returns. I think I'll call it game chat returns number 1. I'll call it game chat returns number 1 until I surpass like the amount of game chats I've done previously, and then I'll just go back to calling it game chat. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed the discussion, if you have any thoughts regarding it, make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll read them. I read all my comments on YouTube. I will engage if there's anything you have to ask, or if you have something to share, I will read it. I'll check it out. I'll like it. I'll dislike it. Who knows? But I'll interact with it either way. And of course, drop a like on the video. It helps the channel for sure. It helps get that algorithm moving, gets it smoothing, and most importantly, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell so you can keep up to date on all the latest game chats that drop on the channel. Hopefully every Friday from here on out. And just so you can stay up to date on all the latest content on this channel in general. Don't want y'all to miss out on anything. There is more TCG or Pokemon TCG. I gotta be more specific. More Pokemon TCG content coming on the way. So stay tuned for all that. Thanks for watching as usual. Thank you for your energy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. My poetry's never failed.